Good afternoon, Chairman Winters. On behalf of the Kentucky School Board Association, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to talk about this critical issue of charter schools. You know, KSBA represents all 174 Kentucky's public school boards, and that makes us the largest organization of elected officials in the Commonwealth. And I would like to turn the mic over to Shannon, our Director of Governmental Relations, who will share some of our observations about this important topic. Shannon.
Again, thank you for this opportunity to address the topic of charter schools. KSBA has been researching the topic diligently in an effort to better educate our members. School board members have many questions about charter schools, including such topics as what is a charter school? How do charter schools work? Who do charter schools serve? Are charter schools more effective than traditional public schools? Do charter schools cream from the top, from the best students? What role do school boards play in charter schools, and how are charter schools funded? All of these questions may sound very simple, but are much more complex to answer. Just as legislators are reviewing these critical issues, school board members want as much information as possible to inform their own opinions about the efficacy of charter schools, especially if school boards are going to be authorizing charter schools in their local districts. Since charter schools and charter school laws are unique in every state, every district, it is difficult to make broad supportive statements. Our testimony here is simply meant to start a dialogue between legislators and school board members about this critical topic. Since charter schools are in 39 states, some of them for nearly 20 years, the volume of research has increased and many lessons have been learned. But even with the volumes of research, there is no distinct conclusion that charter schools are improving student achievement more than their traditional counterparts. Leading advocates and researchers of charter school acknowledge that the research is confusing. For this reason, KSBA continues to review each study as it is released and looks forwards to answers to the questions as to what makes charter schools successful and why do charter schools fail. These questions are difficult to answer because every charter school is different. In reviewing the research regarding charter schools, there are some critical lessons that have been learned. According to Chester Finn, head of the Fordham Institute and a leading proponent of charter schools in Ohio, many assumptions that charter school advocates had in creating charter schools did not ring true. In an article for the National Review magazine, he noted that some advocates, including himself, believed that all charter schools would be excellent schools. That turned out to be false. He states that there are excellent charter schools, mediocre charter schools, and charter schools you would never want your child to attend. He also noted that no one anticipated the importance of charter school sponsor or the authorizer. For this example, let's call KIPP the sponsor, and let's call us, the school board, an authorizer. The authorizer ensures the charter school is held extremely high standards. If the school doesn't meet these standards, the authorizer must not be afraid to close that low-performing school. Some local school districts facing school closures due to declining enrollment, or now, because of the stimulus dollars, they face the prospect of closing a low-performing school, as House Bill 176 allows them to do. When it comes to closing the school, the buck stops with the school board. It is a difficult decision to make, and it does not come without consequences. In a related conclusion, Mr. Finn states that parents do not always use student performance as the most important or primary reason for selecting a school. Many parents select a school based on safety, convenience, atmosphere, and teachers. Parents often work to protect their child's school from closing. This challenge rings true in traditional public school settings. We saw it in Jefferson County when Frost Middle was trying to be closed. Parents and students become closely attached to a school regardless of its performance. Mr. Finn also points out that just because the sign on the door says charter school, it does not mean they are all the same. Again, because they differ so greatly, it makes it particularly important that authorizers put a premium on selecting quality charter operators in the first place and closing unsuccessful schools. As we learn more with you about charter schools and from our counterparts in other states, we would ask that you consider addressing some of our concerns. The argument for charter schools is that they operate free from state and local policies in exchange for increased accountability. In some states, charter schools even receive less funding for being able to operate on less regulations. Advocates argue that freedom from state laws and regulations allow schools to be innovative. Local school districts want to be engineers of innovations as well, as much as charter school advocates do. This logic seems to suggest that these laws and regulations are suffocating innovation in a traditional public school setting, suggesting that laws are no longer helping students succeed. School board members want to see all students succeed at high levels, and if specific laws and regulations are prohibiting this, then maybe it is time to reevaluate those state laws and regulations. Local school boards support providing local districts with the same flexibility as charter schools in order to improve student success. For instance, many studies show that charter schools succeed because of smaller class size, extended school days, years of parents' involvement, flexibility in hiring and rewarding teachers. In order to implement these changes, local school districts would need some statutory and regulatory changes. Simply put, all students, all schools should be held to high academic standards, and all schools should operate on the same level playing field. School board members are concerned about the important role of authorizing charter schools. It is our belief that local school boards should be the sole authorizer of charter schools. Research from the Credo Institute shows multiple charter authorizers creates a race to the bottom, meaning that if you know that this is the easiest place to get authorized, that's where you're going to go. So we have to find ways to get around this and not lower the standards of our schools. Some may argue that school boards, if they're the only authorizers, they will not approve a charter school for fear of its effects on traditional public schools. Currently, 7 states have local school board as the sole authorizer, and they have healthy numbers of charter schools. Nationally, local school boards are the most prevalent charter school authorizer, representing 89% of all authorizers and authorizing 55% of all charter schools. And we have those states and data if you need it. So local school boards, some of our other concerns, local school board members want to be the best authorizers of charter schools. In order to do this, they need policy freedom to close bad charter schools when they see fit. In regards to potential appeals processes, KSBA does not feel that one is necessary, but if one is in place, the claim must contain some legal standard of proof. Local school boards are curious about the role that charter schools play in rural communities. Kentucky is a rural state, and charter schools seem to have greater concentration in urban areas. For example, in Oklahoma, all of their charter schools are in Oklahoma City or in Tulsa. But much more information on rural. Funding. Local school districts' most immediate concern today is funding. Each and every year we are required to do more with less. And those requirements divert funds from direct educational services. KSBA and its members are concerned that charter schools would divert funding from traditional public schools at a time when funding is at a premium. Special education students. We would ask that charter schools be required to provide the same level of services to these students. If charter schools are to be public schools, then they need to serve all students as public schools do. We appreciate your time and willingness to listen to this information. We're available for questions.